Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Halloween on the day filming and uploading this, so I thought I would dress up. I'm not going anywhere, just talking about books, but my channel hasn't been active because I've been traveling for the past month, but I've been filming this whole month, so there's going to be a ton of vlogs coming out. And during the month of October, I accumulated some books, so I'm going to do a mini haul. And in the vlogs coming up, you'll see where I got these books. So the first book is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I'm a huge, I'm using this flap as a bookmark. But yeah, the inside is just a chess piece casting a shadow. So yeah, very simple book. I've read the first chapter of it. So the other side looks like. I bought this at the airport on my way home, where I am now. And the writing style is, I don't want to say it's difficult to read, but it's definitely an adjustment, but I'm liking it. But yeah, my favorite book by her is Normal People. I'm kind of struggling with Beautiful World, Where Are You? But I think I'm gonna like this more than Beautiful. Sorry, what is the book? Oh, yeah. Okay, you know the book that I'm talking about. So I think it's gonna be a slow read. It takes a lot of adjusting, but I think I'm gonna enjoy this. And I do prefer hardcover books. They just are more durable. When I buy paperback books, they usually get damaged as soon as I buy them, so that's why I got hardcover. The other book was gifted to me as The Glassmaker by Tracy Chevalier, and I loved The Girl with the Pearl Earring, so I think that there's a good chance I'll enjoy this. This is historical fiction, and I don't want to tell you all what these books are about because I think it's best to go into books not knowing what they're about a lot of the time. But this is historical fiction set in Italy in the the 1400s. So, yeah. Whoa, this is a really nice, pretty blue. Okay. The next are books that I finished this month that I'm gonna review them later. But I bought this book at Sherman's, which is Maine's oldest bookstore. And my vlog about my trip to Maine will be coming out soon. And also, at the same time as buying Intermezzo, I bought Grimstone by Sophie Lark. And it's really nice. Sprayed edges and illustrations. So that definitely helped with the purchase. So that's the cumulative haul for the month. So I'm gonna hop right in because I usually read 5 books a month, but this month, before I talk about what I read this month, there was a book that I loved so much that I finished it in September, right after I did the wrap up. This book is notoriously hated. I have to hype this up. There's right before I read this, I watched 2 videos. One was from Emmy, and her channel is EMMIE with all the letters spaced out, and she did a video ranking romance books, and this is at the bottom. And Destiny Sidwell also said this book was terrible, and it's The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. And this is a perfect example of what expectations do. to you because I gave it 5 stars. Because I heard it was such a terrible book. I like was preparing for the worst book ever written. So then I loved it. Like, this book, I like it more than Love and Other Words, which is, I never heard anyone say. In this book, the characters they're complex, they're flawed, they're funny, they're likable, and I feel like a lot of romance authors don't know how to write male authors because they make them very grumpy, very rude, and just unlikable. But this male lead, Ethan, he is sassy, but he's not a jerk. And I feel like most romance books write the male lead as just a jerk, and they don't have the likable side to the male lead specifically. So I just thought it was hilarious. I couldn't put down. I just loved it. I don't know. And talking about Love and Other Words, because it's a second chance, it kind of has vibes of cheating, which rubbed me the wrong way. And like the 2 timelines of Love and Other Words didn't really work for me. So yeah, I just really love this. This is the most unbelievable 5-star ever, but it's because I've just heard so many people don't like it, and that just changed my whole expectations about the book. So I don't know. It's just so crazy how people can hate the Unhoneymooners when I loved it. So it's just so crazy. So I guess the lesson is don't not read a book because it's like notoriously bad. So anyway, all right. Next book is Grimstone. I also read it very quickly. I read this in one day, which I never do. The last book I read in one day was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. So I've only done it one other time. It's like a lot shorter than you think, and the illustrations make it short. So this is about Remy and her brother, I forgot his name, Jude, and they move into a deceased relative's house that is supposed to be haunted. So this was supposed to be like a haunted house, spicy mystery thriller, but it wasn't anything. Like, it didn't have much of a plot. The haunted house wasn't very haunted. I was never scared at any point reading this. And so, mainly because of issues with the plot, I had to give this 2 stars. It didn't have much of a plot at all, and the plot that it did have I did not like. But I really like her writing, and it's so cool that she has these great illustrations. So I do want to read the rest of her books, though. So she's got a new fan, even though I give this 2 stars. In my period of time where I'm a really harsh rater, so that's why I had to give this 2 stars. But I really want to read like everything she has out, so I'm still a fan of Sophie. Still a fan. So the next book is Circe by Madeline Miller. Me and Madeline Miller were not friends. It goes back years. I DNF'd Song of Achilles twice. I was in college and I was listening to Song of Achilles and I just kept falling asleep. And then this year, I think, I tried to read Song of Achilles again, and it was so boring I had to DNF again. So I DNF'd that twice. And then, seriously, I do like more than Song of Achilles, but I had to give it 2 stars. I feel like a lot of people who are familiar with Greek myths would agree with me, hopefully, that most of the book I found just boiled down a bunch of amazing epic myths, like, I have the Odyssey right here. Like, she literally boils down this into, like, a chapter and, like, at most. And it's just, like, there's so many stories that are glossed over in Circe that should be its own book of this length. Like, we're talking about Prometheus. We're talking about Icarus. It's so many, Jason, so many great stories that are just boiled down into, like, one paragraph. And so much of the book is not about her. Most of the book is her being told stories from Hermes. And so it's all boiled down into, like, one or two lines or, like, one paragraph. When these amazing stories deserve to have their own book that is as long as this. So it's just, it's kind of like, the book is like gossip. It's like you're reading a book about her being told snippets of stories that should be their own book, that deserve to be told in detail. So that's the main issue as someone who really loves, super familiar with Greek myths. It's just way too many stories in that book. They're not giving the justice that they deserve, and they need to be fully fleshed out, not just like, oh yeah, did you hear what happened with so and so with Theseus today? And as a lover of these stories, I don't want to hear about, like, the Minotaur and the story of the Minotaur in, like, one page, and that's it. So it just really blows over so many amazing stories. It's a disappointment. And at the end, there's incest, and it would be fine because it's, like, ancient times, but then she kind of knows it's wrong, so that makes it worse. So for me, it's 2 stars, and I don't think I'll read anything else from her. But yeah, I mean, I guess I gotta give her credit. It is well written, but the book wasn't even, like, didn't make her the main character. She was, like, a side character in her own book. So I did not like it. Next, I read Icebreaker. I'm so conflicted about this book. Like, I think it was better than Daydream. It definitely had a plot. I want to hold Daydream because I don't have Icebreaker physically. I feel like this is Icebreaker. And I'm so conflicted. I want to give it 3 stars, but I need to be more strict with my rating, so I gotta give it 2 stars. But yeah, I think Icebreaker was better. The plot was much better. I enjoyed it. It was funny, but I don't know. Her writing just doesn't gel with me, so I think that'll be the last book I read by her. If you want to read a spicy hockey romance, it's perfect. But yeah, because I have to be more strict nowadays, I will give it 2 stars. So I have a lot of unpopular opinions. I didn't love this. Oh, I need to find some pages that I don't like. So, I don't know if I can find it. So, I recommend to you, do not read the back of this book. Everything in the back of this book is a spoiler. So, this whole book, the main character, whose name I won't give you because that's a spoiler too, he's trying to figure out who he is, what he is doing in space, and what happened to his crew. Oh man. So I really liked that we were figuring out, like, the mystery of what was happening. we're figuring out what was happening at the same time as the unnamed main character. So yeah, don't look up what this book is about. I didn't, so I didn't get spoiled. So the problem is, I came into this with too high expectations. I thought this would the best book ever written. I thought it would be the best book of all time. So my expectations were ridiculously high. Like, no book can live up to it. So this is just, my expectations were too high. It's my fault, I guess. Ah, God. So there's like one small issue. Oh, here we go. I found it. That made me mad. So this man, ooh, didn't say his name. Oh, my earring came out. Here we go. He has a high level, a very intelligent man. And there's so many details. And the author in this book created, like, has to make our brains understand new organisms, new worlds. And there's just so much complexity. And it's hard to explain this book, but the scientists in this book need Africa for some reason. So I'll just say it as vaguely as I can. And so the whole time, these scientists are discussing Africa. They talk about Africa like the continent is all the same. Like, the entire continent is the same climate, same culture, same political system, same socioeconomic levels. And it's just, they need Africa for some reason that I can't tell you. But they just keep referring to it as the entire continent. And it's just so frustrating. Like, do you not understand that there's some jungles, there's some deserts, there's different climates. Like, it's not all the same. And the whole time, this book has a huge aspect of international, like, teamwork and collaboration. And there's scientists and experts from all these different countries, and they just keep talking about Africa like it's all one uniform place. It's just, and anyway, it's like such a small part of the book, but they do it repeatedly, so I gotta just stop going on and on about it. And then he has a like funny joke where the main character is trying to be sarcastic and like call out a colleague for being generalizing. Then he says, "Goodness me, Dubois appears to be black," one of the coworkers. "I'm surprised you allowed it. Aren't you afraid to ruin the mission with talk of rap music and basketball?" And like, he's trying to be like calling the other person like, you are generalizing and you are, just stereotyping people. And that joke didn't land, and it didn't work at all. So I just don't get why that was in the book. And so yeah, the humor as a whole did not work for me. And I think there's humor on every page of this book, or every other page. So humor is a huge part of this book. And if you don't like the humor, it's going to make reading this, and just reading this not a fun experience. And as the main mystery character figures things out over time, I think he jumped to a lot of conclusions about figuring out his situation in space, and I didn't think it was realistic. And I think he was just assuming things and assuming A means B and B means C, and I just did not follow the logic. I just didn't buy it. So yeah, I just came in with too high expectations. This is not for me. But yeah, the humor is the biggest issue. But yeah, still 3 stars. So yeah, I just thought this would be the greatest book of all time, but that's... Then I read A Certain Hunger by Chelsea Summers. Is it Summers? Summers. And I gave this 4 stars. This is about a New York food critic. I don't know to say if this is the female Jack the Ripper or the female American Psycho. I don't know. I'm kind of between the two. But the main character is a psychopath who enjoys food and pleasures of the body. And she finds herself loving the taboo of eating her lovers. So it combines her love for food and her lust all into one because she's killing and eating her lovers. And so at the beginning, I was like, yes, I love this. I love women's rights and women's wrongs. But over time, it kind of just lost its appeal to me. But I really like the feminist ideas. It's funny, I was offended by this book, not by what most people would be offended by, but kind of her views on gender and... I'd have to make a whole other video on it, but her views on gender and race are what kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Not so much the killing the lovers and that whole part. But yeah, I thought I would love this book more. But I do kind of like this genre. So if you know of any like female rage books, let me know. But this one kind of wasn't exactly what I was looking for. But I gave it 4 stars. It was excellently written. Every line is just beautifully written. I mean, she's gotta be the best writer read all year. So she's just at a higher level than everyone else. So yeah, it was amazingly written. But I thought, I was gonna get more connected to the main character and kind of feel for her, but I kind of wanted the reason why she was going around killing and eating her victims, but there wasn't really enough reasoning that made me grow to like her as a character. So for those reasons, I didn't love it as much as I thought. But as I started it, I thought it was gonna be a 5 star, but then it ended up being a 4 star. So amazingly written. So this morning, I finished Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. This is the second chance romance. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. 2 issues though. I always have something to criticize. 2 issues. So the first one is a problem a lot of authors have. Kids slang. Well, and the slang in general. It's like when you put lit in a book, it's gonna age badly and it's gonna be cringy. But there was a line in the book where she said, the main character Yasmin says, if my daughter were here, she would say you understood the assignment. That's what the kids say. Authors never have the line, that's what the kids say. I don't care if you heard your kid say those words. I don't care if you heard your kid say those words every day and that's their catchphrase. Don't put it in a book because it's gonna age really quickly. It's gonna be very cringy it's just, the line, like, that's what the kids are saying now, should never be in a book. So yeah, that's such a huge issue when you have slang that ages really fast, putting it in a book. Like, I don't care. You're an author and you literally heard a kid say those words. Don't put it in a book. Just don't. The other issue is that it's a second chance romance, so we know the main character, Yasmin and Josiah, are going to come back together. But the force for driving them back together was really lust. And the whole book, they were just talking about the physical and each other's bodies. So there wasn't a depth to the feeling bringing them back together again. So yeah, that was an issue. But 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Then I read Frankenstein. I should be quick about this. My sister read this in school, but I didn't read this in school, so I was like, oh, Halloween, let's read it. So I finished it yesterday. It's very short. So anyone, I recommend you to read it. It's really short. It'll take you like a couple days. It's by Mary Shelley. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars because I know I shouldn't be judging this as someone in 2024, but I am. They call Native people savages. It didn't rub me the right way. And there's the incest again. I guess I gotta get over it, but anyway, you know what? I'm just gonna keep my 2024 social norms in my head while reading this. But yeah, it was amazingly written. I want to talk about this more, but I should probably move on. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool to put yourself in the mind of a scientist who creates life and has to deal with the consequences. So yeah, I really like this and recommend it. Wish I could talk about it more, but I've got some other books to talk about. Then I read Stalking Jack the Ripper. You can tell which books. I mean, I guess mainly Stalking Jack the Ripper and Frankenstein were my Halloween-y ones. And this is by Carrie Maniscalco. Carrie Maniscalco writes I don't know what the series is called, Kingdom of the Wicked. The second book in that series, Kingdom of the Curse, is one of the worst books I've ever read in my life. So I had low expectations going into this, but this was really good. I gave it 4 stars. It is about stalking Jack the Ripper, even though there's no stalking of Jack the Ripper in the book. And how can we stalk someone if we don't know who he is? So there was no stalking of Jack the Ripper. We didn't know who Jack the Ripper was the whole time. So the title isn't really accurate. But so I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I love the vibes. It's perfect for the season. It had it's a historical fiction, so it had some great feminist lines about girls doing what they want to do and not having men stop them. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a little gnarly. It's very like Anatomy, a love story, where you have a woman who wants to be a surgeon and wants to study anatomy. So it's very similar in that way. Anatomy, a love story, is about learning to be a surgeon to help people. This was more about on the forensic side, and this is more of a murder mystery, whereas Anatomy is not. So that's how they're different. So yeah, 4 stars. The 5-star book the month is my most highly rated book this month was The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I'm not as well versed in sci-fi. This is my first Ursula K. Le Guin book. You can read this on your own. Sorry, not on its own. And I am, so I'm new to Ursula K. Le Guin, and I survived it without reading any book before this, and I was totally fine, so I recommend that. This came out in 1969, and Ursula K. Le Guin is the greatest sci-fi author of all time, if you don't know, and it is about this sociologist. I don't know, I'm just making up a term. He's just no, he's not a sociologist, he's like a diplomat who is learning about this, you know, alien society in which people describe this book wrong. They say the aliens don't have gender. They do have gender. They have fluctuating gender. And so when these beings meet, sometimes they are the feminine being, and sometimes they are the male being. So it's very random and it's oscillating, not isolating. And so you learn or you explore topics of gender power dynamics, and the way that gender constricts us, the ways that men are free and women are not, and how we reinforce these roles. So it's just so fascinating. And as someone who's newer to sci-fi, if I can do it, you can do it. It was kind of tough to get through, but I'm so glad I read it. It was 5 stars. So it just really makes you think about society in a different way. And there's tons of politics, and one of the politicians is like Trump. So it even connects to today in the way that he is like the very xenophobic rhetoric. So it's cool that I can relate it to today's political climate. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. Thanks for sitting here for 30 minutes. And I have a ton of vlogs coming out, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.